Hello, friend. I am going to get cozy here. I'm going to get cozy. I want to be comfy. I got the kids' blankets. I'm in between I did my walk. Had my breakfast and I need to go take a shower because I'm all sweaty and yucky and I look crazy. This morning I did a podcast episode on my recovery through food sensitivities and how I got all the foods back in. And I wanted to try and squeeze this one in this morning too, but it didn't end up working out. I felt like I had a little time I could have done it. I felt like I was going to be rushed. But I want to do this one too, which is how I went from bedridden to being able to walk for an hour every morning and my process through that. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And I have food cooking. I keep looking over there because I have food cooking and it's got 4 minutes left and then I've got to go check it. And I think it'll be ready to come out. Let's hope. And if not, I'm going to be up and down a little bit through this. When I make my breakfast, I like to food prep for the next few days, every few days, so that I tend to eat more clean, because if it's left to convenience, I don't do so good. So I'm like cooking some cabbage and some Brussels sprouts, like roasted with salt and butter. It's gonna be yummy. Anyway, that's another reason I haven't gotten in the shower, and I'm just kind of sitting here lingering for my breakfast and sipping my tea. And I thought, you know what, this will be a really good time to throw this one out there. So I'm much more distractible at home than on my walk and talks, which is why I like to do the walk and talks. But we're going to try this. Okay, so first and foremost, I want to preface this, as I try to do with all of my videos in the description and what I said in the last podcast episode, which was recovery from food sensitivities. Please get checked out by your doctor first and foremost, by a mental health professional. Get everything ruled out. Take their advice. Their advice first and foremost. All I can do is just share my story and my experience, and I am not a professional. I am not an expert. I am not even healed. I'm not trying to heal anymore. For me, I'm just trying to live in the moment and embrace my life for what it is. And I'm not trying to get anywhere anymore. I'm just trying to love myself, and I've found that acceptance is a huge thing for me. And trying to force it and push it, like, it just doesn't work for me. So I am healing. I'm in the process of healing. And so it's not like I have it all made or anything. I can say I have been through this thing before. I have gotten to the other side. I thought I was out of it. For years, I was like, ooh, that was like a bad nightmare. I'm glad that that's never going to happen again. I just ran off into the sunset, and I thought this could never happen to me again. And now I'm in a setback. So I am back for round 2, and I can speak on that experience, and I can really only speak on my own personal journey and experience. Everyone is different, and I feel like all the things, all the methods, all the tools, I like to just fill my toolbox, and I feel like there's a different tool for each job, and there's a different time to use each tool, and each of us are unique. We all have a unique history. We all have a unique thing that's going to work for us. So I can only just share my experience and what worked for me And that's it. That's all I'm doing. I'm not here to give advice. I'm not here to act like I have it all made and I got it all figured out. And yeah, so let's start there. I have 3 seconds on my food. So let me go do that and I'll be back. Okay, so that's all done. So I won't have to get up again until I'm done with this. So that's good. Oh, I feel like I look horrible, but I'm going to be nice to myself. I just want to do this, or else I don't know if I'm going to do it, because I actually have a sleep visualization I'm working on, and that one takes a lot of time, and I know I'm going to get distracted and then I'm going to forget about this. So we're just going to do it now. Okay. So, as I said, I've had a part 1 and a part 2. I'm just going to kind of combine them because I think both experiences are relevant. And yeah. Okay. So I ended up in a bedridden state this part 2. I just did a video on the food sensitivities. That was a big reason. I don't remember having this the first time, where I was like triggered by movement. Like the its or the symptoms would get triggered by movement, the sensations. We'll call them sensations going forward. In fact, I don't know how in the world I did it, but I was running like 3 miles every other day through that, which is insane to me. I don't know how I did that. But the second time I had an instance where I was moving and I got triggered, and I think my brain just associated movement with that. And it just, I don't know, I was just in shutdown mode. When I would move, any little movement, I would get the cocktail of 50 plus symptoms, and the worst being the DPDR. And similar to the food sensitivities, I would get a similar type of reaction with movement. There was just so much going on, and I ended up just laying in bed almost the whole day. I didn't go outside. I could get up and go to the bathroom. I'm thankful, because I've heard of people who can't even do that. It sounds really gross, but I could only handle a shower like every few days. And when I was in the shower, it was like bare minimum. Like, what do I got to do? It felt like I was in a war zone, or there was a bear in the shower with me trying to attack me. And so I had to just hurry and like do the bare minimum and get out, like 2-3 minutes. It was insane. And that was it. I could get up to get my food. I think I stayed at my mom's house during this time when I was really bedridden. And my mom and my sister would mostly help me with the food. But I could get up here and there and get my own food. So that's where I was coming from with this. And that was it. That was my activity. And I do remember that I had a neighbor who had trigger warning. He had, I think he had rheumatoid arthritis, and he didn't get very much movement in, and he ended up getting, okay, I'm gonna symptom talk here. So, and this is like, you know, when you go look up Google and you find out about the symptoms and then it triggers you, you might want to skip this part. He ended up having blood clots in his lungs from not moving. And so I do remember for some reason I used to look, that scared me. I was afraid of that. And so I remember looking up like old people exercises that you could do in bed. that sounds terrible. Like elderly exercises, like for old people who were old people. I don't mean to call them old people. You know what I'm talking about. That's probably politically incorrect. Elderly people who were in hospice. And I would do those. It was just like laying down flat, and you could move. You would use your own body weight just to get a few. I would get maybe like a couple minutes of movement in every 2 or 3 hours. I would try to move a little bit. So that kind of just sustained me. But other than that, that was about it. That's all I could do. And I was like that for months. I've heard of people like being like that for years. I'm so grateful that wasn't me. But I have been in a really hard place with that. And I just remember the DPDR getting triggered so bad anytime I would move, and like the panic attacks. And there's no way I could get out to take a walk. And that felt impossible to me, which was insane because I was coming from teaching PE 7 hours a day. I would get off work and then I would go work at the gym and teach karate. I would even do my own workout. And I would come home and I would like cook food for the kids. We'd have dinner together. We'd do homework. I would do the cleaning. Like I was always on the go. And it was insane because I got COVID, and it just like, I wasn't even recognizable anymore. I couldn't walk up a flight of stairs without just feeling like a bomb went off in my body. I went from being that active literally overnight to barely being able. I couldn't even go outside. And I remember in the depths of it, in the darkest moments, I was like, I've got to do something. I can't just lay here and waste away. Like, and I talked about this in my last episode. I think it's episode 11 on the food sensitivities. These two things have gone hand in hand. These have been the hardest for me, the food and the movement. And so, yeah, I just shut down. I was like, I don't want to feel that feeling, so I'm not going to move because I just felt like I was just going to die. And I had to go on like a suicide mission. My brain thought I was going to die. And I had to just be like, okay, we're going to get up and I'm just going to go sit on the porch. Like literally there was a back door to the bedroom at my mom's house. And I would just, my first mission was like, I'm going to go sit on the porch for 30 seconds. And the whole time my body's going to be freaking out and I'm going to feel like I'm going to die. And we're just going to accept if that happens. So I guess exposure therapy, right? So I went and I sat on the porch, and it was awful. Just getting up out of the bed. I mean, going to the bathroom and getting in the shower, it was the same feeling. And so I didn't want to have to do anything I didn't have to do. Like I had to eventually go to the bathroom and I had to eventually shower. So I eventually would have to go get food if no one was around. So it was like kind of like I had to go do those things, but I didn't have to go sit on the porch. So I had to just make myself. Sorry, I don't know how these are going to do if they're too long, so I kind of have to make them in pieces. But so I did that. And the first time I just had like this massive panic attack because I was just sitting in bed for months, just wasting away, thinking I was going to die at any point, but then I didn't. And months went by, and I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to die, obviously. So I either just sit here, and this feels awful too, or I try to like get my life back somehow. So I would go and sit on the porch and I would have a massive panic attack. The DPDR was going insane. I can't even explain DPDR. It's horrible. And then I did that once every few days. And I would do it again and again. And I think I did it for like maybe like 2 or 3 weeks. I can't remember. It was a while ago. I actually did a podcast interview, and I probably explain it more accurately in that because it was closer to when when I did that interview, I was almost out of it. I was almost out, and then I hit that setback, which I talked about in the last episode. I was so frustrated. I was so close. I got like almost all the pieces of my life back together, and this was the second time around. And I was like, ooh, I'm going to get out of this quicker than the first time. Like, I know what this is. I'm going to get out of this. I know what to do. I was doing all the things. I was doing really good. And I hit that setback, and it like took me back down to ground zero. And I was so frustrated. And I had to almost, it felt like starting over again. But the third time it went a lot better. But anyway, so I think that's on Daniel Van Loosbrook's channel. I think he has my name on there. It's Sandra Chatwin. I did an interview when I was almost out of it. And I talked about this in there, and I'm probably more accurate because I remembered it better because it was closer. But anyway, I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks that I was in that phase of just sitting on the porch, and my body's just freaking out. It could not handle the sun. It could not handle being outside. It could not handle movement. It was just completely, my nervous system was just shot. Like, it was so overwhelmed. And then I dared myself to take like 2 steps, because it was like a porch with steps. It was a cement porch. It was on the ground. There was probably like 5 steps. So I was like, I'm going to go down 3 steps. Or something like that, 2 or 3 steps. That's it. I did that for a while. Then I was like, okay, I can do this. Like, this is the exposure therapy I was talking about in episode 11 with food sensitivities. It's like I had to get this real evidence. I remember doing this the first time. I was doing a lot of I was doing CBT in my first crash, and so there was a lot of like correcting thoughts, there was a lot of affirmations, there was a lot of that. But to me, I had to have that real proof, like I survived. I didn't die. It felt really awful, but I was able to handle it, and I'm okay. I had to have that real tangible like proof for my brain to be like, oh, okay, we can go down 3 steps and we're going to be okay. And then it was easy. It was easy to go out on the porch and sit. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to walk to the end of the sidewalk. I think it was. I'm going to walk to the end of the sidewalk. So I did that for 2-3 weeks. I don't know how long it was. I can't remember. I know I say it in that video. And then once my brain was like, okay, I can do that. And by the way, I was feeling totally awful. It wasn't that I didn't feel awful. I felt horrible, but I just kept doing it. And even when I'd have a really bad day, I would make sure to show up again and try to get a different experience. And sometimes I wouldn't get that. Sometimes it would be even worse. And my brain was like, see, this isn't going to work. This is terrible. We can't do this. And I would just have to keep working at it until I proved to my brain, like, had enough experiences that it could see, oh, sometimes it goes good, sometimes it doesn't. Even just that was helpful. And I ended up making it to the end of the sidewalk, and then I would go out the gate. And I think my goal ended up being like, I want to go out for 2.5 minutes. I want to go on a 2.5 minute walk. That was my goal. And I ended up being able to do that. And then my goal was like 5 minutes. And I have to remind myself when I have a bad day, because I still have a bad day once in a while, and have to be like, I started just going out on the porch. That was success for me. I started with a 2.5 minute walking goal. Like, if I'm like, I've been in a little mini setback recently, and I had to take my walks back to like 20-30 minutes. And I'll talk about setbacks in a minute because I've been through those. And I have to remind myself I'm doing amazing. I am doing so good. Even when I was not in this situation, I don't remember. I would go on walks after dinner and stuff like that, especially like on a weekend or a Sunday when I wasn't working, or in the summers when I was off work. And I'm like, I don't know that I ever took longer than a 30-minute walk. Like, I'm doing amazing just in general. Like, to get out for an hour walk it's a little extreme, actually. I should probably at this point start investing my energy elsewhere. um but yeah, so then I went to 5 minutes, and then I remember 7 minutes was my, like, I was doing pretty good at 7 minutes, and then 10 minutes, and then 15 minutes. And this was not fast, it was slow and tedious, and I did incremental training, and I did do the visuals. The visuals really helped me, and I should probably do more of those visuals on my channel, but I don't. But I had to just visualize as well. When I was in the bed, I honestly feel like it probably originally started with me just visualizing myself walking. I can't say for sure, but I'm pretty sure I did that. I know for sure if it wasn't right at first, I would, when I wasn't walking, I would visualize myself being able to go out for a walk, and I had to try and, like, I really sucked at visuals at that point, but I was trying to capture all the details. And when I would go out, I would really try to pay attention to the details, like the birds singing and the gravel under my feet and the wind on my face, so that when I would be in bed, I could visualize it in as much detail as possible. And I feel like the visualizing really, really helped me. Yeah, so this was a process that went on for months. And I think I ended up getting up to like 20 minutes. And then I had my setback within a setback. So I had recovered, I got my setback, and I was probably, I don't know how far I was in, but it was over a year. And then I got COVID again, and it set me back. And I remember going back to like 5-minute walks, and I was like, oh, I was so frustrated because I was like at 20 minutes. And I mean, I'm talking, this was over a period of a year plus. That's how long it took me to get up to 20 minutes, which is insane. And then I was super bummed out. I had this moment within a setback, where I just lost it all. And I was like, I'm never going to get out of this. Like, I can't believe that I'm having to go through this again. And it felt like I went back to ground zero. Now, looking back, I see I did not have all the pieces that I needed. I needed to go revisit that place. I needed to go back there, and I needed to get some things, and I needed to learn some things, and I needed to develop and mature. And I am so grateful. I know it's so annoying when people say this, because it's like those setbacks can be hell on earth. But it was a blessing, and I don't think I could have gotten to where I am now without that setback. I needed that setback. I needed to learn those lessons. I went back there for a reason. And that was when I started to find God. And that has been a huge, huge, fundamental piece for me that I don't think I could have really ever gotten out of this without that. And so got to the place where I am, because I'm not out of it. But okay, and then so I had my setback. I had to go back to 5 minutes. So talking about the setbacks, it's so frustrating. I have actually had a few mini setbacks, and then I had a big one. And for me personally, I have to pull back, and I cannot allow myself to completely shut down again. I can't. It feels like I'm going to die when the setback's bad, but I have to just push myself. I have to keep that momentum in even some small way. Let me start a new one. I have to keep the momentum even in some small way, and I have to just keep showing up even though it feels like we're going to die. I have to just, like, okay, if all I can do is a 5-minute walk, we're going to do a 5-minute walk. We are not going to lay in that bed. We are absolutely not going to lay in that bed. If I need a moment to like recalibrate, if I need a moment to digest, if I need a moment to process, okay. If I miss a few days, a week, okay. but we are going to get up and we are going to move. Even if all I can do is 30 seconds, we're going to start somewhere, and we're going to plant that seed, and we're going to keep watering, because I know that it's going to grow, and I know it's going to develop, and I know 30 seconds is going to turn into a minute, and then into 2 minutes, and then 5 minutes. And I just have to show my brain we can do this. But if I shut down and I do not expose myself, then I'm never going to get there. And that is just me personally. That is how I work. And this is how I get through these things. And so when that big setback came, I had to pull back to 5 minutes, and it sucked. It was, my mind did not like it. And I just had to slowly build up again. And it was so frustrating. But I built up, and it was faster this time, because at third time I was like, okay, I got this figured out, I think. And so I just did the same thing. I just applied the same recipe, and yeah, did the same recipe I did with the food, the same recipe I did with the movement. The same concepts work for whatever for me. And so then after I hit my 20 minute mark, which felt like it took forever, it was months. It could have been another year. I think it took me a total of like 2 years to really get going with my movement again. I just barely hit my 3-year anniversary of being in the setback. Last time it took me 2 years to get totally out of it. So anyway, yeah, and then it was weird. Like, I processed that setback. I had to get all the foods back in again. I was doing that at the same time. It was really frustrating. I had to get all my movement back in. I had to go through the process all over again, but I learned a lot more in that setback than what I had before. And then I hit 20 minutes, and I thought that was all I could do at that point. Before I had that setback, I was like, okay, this is it. I'm just going to be happy with 20 minutes. I would like to go longer, but I just can't make it longer. And I kind of stagnated at 20 minutes for a while. And I'm really glad I had the setback, even though it was really hard to go through, because I hit 20 minutes, and then I went 25, and then I went 30. And then I went 35, and it was going fast after I hit the 20 minutes, which took months to build up to. I can't remember how long it was. Probably maybe like 8 or 9 months or something. And then I hit 40 minutes, and then I hit 45 minutes, and then I hit 50 minutes, and I hit 55 minutes, and I hit an hour. And it just, like, as soon as I got out of the setback and I got back to my 20 minutes, which took a long time, after that it was just like boom. And the same with the foods. It like was slow going at first, but once I hit a certain point, it was like boom. And so yeah, and I ended up hitting an hour, and I was like, do I even need to do this much? Because I kept just trying to build more than I was doing before, and I was like, I don't even need to do this much. This is kind of insane, actually. And now I go anywhere. I can do an hour. I can definitely do an hour, no big thing. But I try to keep it like sane and reasonable at this point. I still can't work out, which is crazy, because I have lived in a gym that has been my career for like since I was probably like 18 years old. I started teaching cardio kickboxing in a gym when I was 18 years old, and I've worked in a gym ever since, doing lots of different things, and I still cannot lift weights yet. I'm getting to where I can do a 15 to 20 minute body weight workout at night. And so I'm still working on that piece, but I can do a walk, no problem. And even on my bad days, when I just feel really awful, I have this knowing I can do it. I have this confidence. I have had enough experience that I feel confident that I can go out there and I can feel terrible, and I can handle it, and I can do it, and I'm gonna do it. And I have done it, and I will do it, and I'll continue to do it. And for me, it's been that incremental training to me has just been so valuable, or gradual exposure therapy, I think. And I know a lot of people that have chronic fatigue are like, this is a terrible idea and you shouldn't do it this way. It worked for me. Um, and movement is a big trigger for me. My heart rate, I don't technically have POTS, so I can't speak to that, but my heart rate goes high when I try to walk. Not into like the POTS area, but I feel, I'm in a symptom talk. Disclaimer. I feel out of breath. The DPDR is really bad. I feel like I'm gonna faint. I feel super dizzy. I just feel exhausted. Like my muscles just can't keep up. It's like I already ran a marathon. And there's like black spots in my eyes. I have to wear sunglasses or a hat when I go out, because it's just, the sun is just, and I love the sun. I used to always have my window blinds open. I was such a like happy, sunny, bright person. I loved the sunlight. And when I fell into this chronic condition, I just couldn't handle the light anymore. I was too sensitive to it. All the sounds. I developed agoraphobia. I didn't want to leave my house. So getting out for an hour was huge. Like that was a major improvement. Yeah. And so that is what has worked for me. And every time I have even a mini setback or a setback again, I'm going to repeat myself. I cannot let myself shut down. I can pull back, but I cannot let myself ever go back to that bedridden state. Like, to me, it's like I would rather die. And that's how I've gotten my movement back in. So this is long, and I hope that this helps somebody. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section. And like I said, this is probably not for everybody. This is what helped me. This is how I got hour walking. I just walk. I don't speed. I do try to go faster. Like you'll notice in a lot of my walk and talks, I'm kind of out of breath and I end up talking fast because I'm moving fast and my energy's up. But like I haven't attempted to jog or run or anything like that. I mean, I'm old. I'm like 42. So, and besides all this, I got bad knees. And so I'm happy with like a swift walk. And that's all I'm trying to do. But yeah, it's more just like a leisure walk, and I don't have it all figured out. It feels like a bear's chasing me most of the time, and I just have to go anyway. And I have to trust that we can do this and that we have done it and that we're gonna be okay. And I just take the bear along with me. And that's why I said I'm not fully out of this. I still get the anxiety just leaving home, going out on a walk, knowing that I could have like the symptoms could get triggered and I could feel really awful out there. I could have a panic attack or whatever. I could be far away from my home and not be able to get home quickly. And I just have to go anyways. And I just have to be like, whatever happens, happens, but we're going to go. And that's it. Okay, bye. I'm going to go get in the shower now.